Let's do it. I want to go first to Ted here in Pennsylvania. Hey, Ted, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Dan?
I am Dan. Ted, I'm doing just fine. Thanks for asking.
You remember me, don't you?
Well, Ted, you have to be a little. Well, can you give a little more context to who you are? Because I just now talked to you, and I talk to people every single week. So maybe if you know.
Oh yeah. I'm the guy that called in before about talking about what happens after we die.
Okay. Yeah, and that also is a question that we talk about a lot on this show too. So what more did you want to talk about on that?
Well, I have an objective truth that I want to talk about.
Okay.
And that is that only something happens. And this is true in regards to everything. Like, only something is that which happens, right?
Only something is that which happens. Maybe, but it almost sounds like a tautology to me. Like it's something that really doesn't mean much if you break it down.
Right. And well, I don't know about that, because if we apply this truth to what happens after I die, then that means that only something can be that which happens after we die.
Okay, so like the first bit I'm following philosophically, at least. I don't know if it's useful logically, or like practically, but so yeah, so you're basically saying that something can happen, nothing can't happen. If nothing
Correct.
happens, then it can't happen because there's nothing to happen.
Well, if nothing happened, then that would make nothing something.
Right, exactly, which I philosophically think is a valid point. I don't think, I'm curious about where you're going with that, though.
Well, I am not, let me say what I am not saying. I am not saying that implies that the person that died continues.
Okay. So what
But I am saying that, but after that person ceases to exist, that following that person's extinguishment from the universe, that after that, only something can be that which happens. Only something happens.
I guess I'm having trouble figuring out what that ultimately means.
Well, there's a lot of atheists and other people that constantly assert that nothing happens after we die.
Well, I think when people say that, though, Ted, they're talking about, like, our consciousness, our existence. Like, of course, after I die, like, the matter of my body is still going to break down. Like, there's still going to be things happening around me. But, like, from my perspective, there might not be anything happening as far as we can tell, right? I mean, we don't really have any evidence for it either way.
Right, from your perspective, but consciousness will continue via whatever is born after you have ceased to exist.
Well, sure, there'll be other conscious beings around me that are still living their lives, yeah.
Yeah, so your ending will be followed by some other organism's beginning, and that will be what is happening at that point in time.
Yes.
I'm all I can think of right now is Mufasa's when we die, our bodies become the grass and the intellect is the grass.
There you go, yeah.
I mean, I agree. I'm curious where this is going in terms of an argument for or against consciousness continuing.
I don't know if this is supposed to be something super profound or not. It's certainly, I think,
well, that's subjective, whether or not it's profound.
Well, I think it's a valid observation, but I just don't know. I just don't know what you're getting at.
Well, all right. So I have a Twitter account called Naturalism Philosophy, and for years now, I've searched for people on Twitter who say that after we die, there is a black void, and that's where we go. We go into this nothingness, black void. And they go as far as describing this black void as being silent and completely black and dark, and there's no one else there but you. And so I'm refuting that idea that for one reason or another, a lot of atheists, that's the takeaway that they get when they hear nothing happens after we die.
Okay.
All right.
Now I see what you're getting at.
They misconstrue it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
they misconstrue it.
Yes, I agree with you. I think, and it not just atheists, I think pretty much everybody kind of misconstrues it when we're talking about, like, there's nothing that happens after we die. Like, of course, things are happening, right? Like, but I think we're ultimately just talking about our conscious experiences. And
Right. It's really hard to imagine not existing.
Yeah.
And so the closest thing maybe we can come to is this metaphorical black void that is silent and you're
Right.
all alone. But it's not a literal
it's
place.
definitely not a literal thing.
Yeah.
Like, I've only known existence unless, the Buddhists and the Hindus are right and that I've lived some other life. If I have, I don't remember, so I've only known existence. So I don't know what it's like not to exist, because to know that would require to exist, and it kind of doesn't work, right?
Correct. Can I use a thought experiment to try to make this more visceral for you all?
Sure.
Okay. So, all right. Imagine that you are the only organism in the entire universe.
Mm-hmm.
You're the only one there is. There is only your experience. Those eyes are the only eyes being looked out of. Now imagine that you die and you cease to exist. Then, somehow, a new organism comes to exist. Now, it is the only organism there is. Its experience is the only experience there is. Those eyes are now the only eyes being looked out of. Does that make...
Yeah.
How does that do it for you?
Makes sense to me.
It does it for me,
Yeah.
Ted.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm in sexuality mode.
Yeah, no, I think it's
That V?
it's interesting. It's certainly a good perspective to have and to think about, like, our own mortality and think about what that means in terms of other people and stuff. And a few weeks ago I had a guest on, Dave Warnock. We talked a lot about what it means to die and what it means to, like, live our life now with the existence that we have and stuff. And I think it's good to contemplate on that a bit. So. Yeah, I'd say good for you, Ted.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're able to find a metaphor that you can work with on this.
Yeah, ultimately, I can't be 100% certain of anything, but I can be certain that only something is that which happens. That's like an objective truth, and it's very fundamental. I know it almost sounds stupid to say out loud. It's like, yeah, only something can happen. If nothing were to happen, then that would make it something.
And hey, if that something gives you peace and helps you sleep at night and gives you,
Actually, no, it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay, well, never mind all that then. If it helps somebody, it helps you, right? Like, I don't know what to say about it except it's just a cold, hard fact.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Although you can get into hard solipsism with this and say,
Sure.
well, is this something happening in your head or not there?
We could be annoying about it, but I don't want to do
Well,
that.
even
Thank
if
you,
that were the
Dan.
case,
Reel me
then
in.
that would still, even if that were the case, that would still result in there being something afterwards, because it would either be the scenario that I said, or it would be, okay, so the brain wakes up out of the simulation after it dies in
Got a
this
point.
simulation.
It would
you
be
go.
something there if it was a hard solipsism thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Ted, this is your I think therefore I am.
That's right. You did it, Ted.
Good work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks for calling in about this. This was a good way to a good brain teaser, I guess, to start
Yeah.
with. Is a good way to put it. We do got some other calls here, full line that I want to get to, but thanks again for calling. I hope to hear from you again.
All right. Thank you for taking my call.
For sure.
Thanks, Ted.
There we go. Something happens.
Something happens.
The end. I don't know what else to
The
say.
end, question mark?
Like, usually this is the part where I like to break down the call and say, thoughts about what we were talking about. But, like, I don't know if I have anything else to say on that.
I mean,
It's just-
philosophically, I think we agree.
sure.
It was helpful when he actually described what he was refuting.
Yes, and that's good to know if in the context of what that's in response to,
Right.
because, like, we didn't necessarily disagree with anything he was saying there. So,
Right.
Context is key. That's
Context is
that's a
key.
good lesson to learn from this.